March 2020, my wife and I were finally looking to move into our first house with our 6-month-old son. We'd found a small Victorian terrace in a suburb of Leeds, the kind of house that's advertised as having period features. To me it was quaint, and after viewing many houses, we were sure it was the right place. Although it was just a small terrace leading straight onto a busy road, we felt like we'd found our own little cottage. The back of the house had a long but messy garden, and just behind the garden fence was an oak tree. It was standing in the garden and looking at that soot-stained stone house and back at the big tree that sold it to us. But COVID came, so we decided to move out of our little flat quickly, just a couple of weeks before the house sale was due to go through. My parents said we could stay at their place in Leeds whilst they stayed in York. It was only going to be for a couple of weeks. After 5 months' delay, and just before our son's first birthday, we finally moved in. At last, we had our own space and our first house. We decided that our home needed a bit of an overhaul. It was an old house that needed some work, and after years of not having our own space, we really wanted to make it our own. My wife had been gathering colour schemes and carpet samples to get us nested into the home. We started knocking out bits here and there, taking up the old carpet to reveal the old stone floor and loose cement, and sanding down and heat blasting decades of paint off the stairs. The house soon became a building site. Over time, our pace and enthusiasm started to slow down. Builders were harder to come by, as were supplies, and we were desperately short on cash. The house wasn't becoming the cosy home we'd hoped for. Our son, who was crawling along the stone floors, was trying to eat the old loose cement. My wife was working from home, and I gained a promotion. At first this was great. I'd finally become a librarian. I would have a bit more money, but the job role and COVID restrictions meant I was to work from home too. Home life, work life, and the toll of living in a perpetual building site was starting to get to us. I was an outdoor enthusiast who needed the hills and rock climbing and the friendships that went along with this. But work days merged into baby routines and bedtimes. My son's teething pains interrupted our sleep. We were waking up and going to work in the same room. I felt like I was living in a box, like a caged bird. Some days I couldn't remember the last time I even opened the front door, never mind gone outside. I was becoming irritable, cranky, and hard to live with. I tried to get my outdoor fix by going on local walks when I could. I also tried to learn about birds. This was supposed to be the #1 COVID restrictions therapy. My bedroom office, which was really an alcove the previous residents had a dresser in, was next to the window, looking out over the garden and the big tree. The tree that had inspired me and my wife to buy the house was now a bird haven. I had a small pair of binoculars by my desk, and occasionally, when I'd see a flutter in the trees, I'd look out and see what was there. Over many days I saw a crow build her nest and watch collared doves snuggle together on the branches, and flocks of red and yellow goldfinches swoop into the tree only to stay for a few seconds at a time. This was keeping me sane. Whilst the back of the house felt like a haven, the front was very different. The busy road turned into a racetrack some nights, and there was more and more police activity, from car break-ins to someone trying to drive into a crowd of people just 50 metres from our house. Then, one day, the council came to cut down the tree. A neighbour had complained about it. My wife and I took it in turns to ask the tree fellas to stop, but it was on their list of trees to go, and that was that. I went back to my office. My manager called me, and whilst talking to her, I saw the tree ease back and crash behind the garden fence. Then there was silence. My little nature fix had gone, and so had the birds. And within a few weeks, a telecoms company came and put up a 5G mast in almost the same spot. We weren't happy. The house wasn't coming together, home life and work life were mixed up, and we both needed a change. We'd often talked of moving to Scotland. I'd been up the mountains there many times, and our honeymoon was an epic 3.5-week tour of Scotland. But I wasn't convinced this was the time to make such a drastic move, and I pushed back. I'd just become a librarian, my dream job, but my wife started applying for jobs. Soon she got one. After living in a building site for over a year, we somehow managed to pull people together and got it decorated. We stayed for 2 months at my wife's mum's house, and then that was it. We were off. We moved to Scotland. I was yet to find a job. Money was tight, but it was an opportunity to spend time off. I had plenty of time now to explore the new area with my son. On our 3rd day in Scotland, my boy and I got a ferry to Ayrshire. He had only seen the sea a couple of times in his 3 years, and when we arrived we didn't walk far. We got to the beach, ran around, drew shapes in the sand, huge dinosaurs and fierce lions. It was a cold December day, and the beach was empty. It was surreal and liberating. Only a few months ago I was a caged bird, and now here I was by the wide sea under mountains. And I asked myself, was I ready yet to swim into this new life?